You know that sinking feeling in your gut, right? The heat that rushes to your face the second you realize you've messed up? We're all so terrified of making mistakes. But what if I told you that those errors, from the tiniest typo to a blunder that literally changes history, are actually one of our most powerful tools for learning and getting better? Today, we're going to completely reframe how we look at mistakes. We'll dive into some of history's most spectacular fails and figure out how to turn our own fumbles into our next big breakthrough. Let's get into it.
So, here's our game plan. First, we're going to start with some absolutely jaw-dropping stories from history just to see what a massive failure really looks like. Then, we're going to turn inward and unpack the psychology of why our own mistakes feel so uniquely awful. After that, we'll get practical. We'll learn how to investigate our errors like a detective. And finally, we'll talk about maybe the most critical piece of all: how to build an environment where it's actually safe to fail, learn, and ultimately win.
All right. Let's kick things off with some of the most epic, unbelievable, and truly world-changing mistakes ever made. And listen, these aren't just funny stories. They're masterclasses in how things can go spectacularly wrong. And if you look closely, you start to see some powerful patterns about the nature of error itself.
Okay, I want you to just picture this. Imagine dedicating 2 full decades of your life to one single gigantic task. We're talking about a time way before computers, no calculators, nothing. Well, that's exactly what a mathematician named William Shanks did back in the 1850s. His one and only goal was to calculate the value of pi to more decimal places than anyone in history, and he did it all meticulously by hand.
And this is just heartbreaking. I mean, the sheer devastating scale of this hidden mistake is hard to wrap your head around. For 20 years, this guy toiled away, filling up page after page with numbers, only for a single, tiny error somewhere in the middle to make the last 180 digits completely wrong. Useless. His life's work was fundamentally flawed. It's just a powerful reminder that working hard isn't enough to prevent mistakes, and a single error early on can poison everything that comes after.
Now, Shanks' error was kind of a solo act, but some of the biggest blunders in history, they aren't just one thing going wrong. Oh no, they're like a domino effect, a perfect storm of bad luck and bad decisions, where a whole bunch of little things have to go wrong in just the right order. And there is no better example of this than the insane series of events that led to the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the event that kicked off World War I.
You honestly could not make this up. So the plan had multiple assassins ready to go. The first guy chickens out. The second guy throws a bomb, but it bounces off the Archduke's car and blows up under the car behind it, so mission failed, right? Wrong. The Archduke, feeling bad, insists on going to the hospital to visit the people who were injured. But his driver doesn't know the city, takes a wrong turn, and has to stop the car to reverse, and the engine stalls. It stalls right in front of a cafe where one of the assassins, a guy named Gavrilo Princip, had gone to get a sandwich because he figured the whole thing was a bust. It's just a wild lesson in how totally random, disconnected mistakes can line up perfectly to create a global catastrophe.
And once you start looking, you see these massive faceplants everywhere, in every field. In politics, you've got a Byzantine emperor who literally handed a list of his own spies to an enemy leader. You can guess how that turned out. In science, there's Thomas Midgley Jr. He meant well, but he invented both leaded gasoline and CFCs, basically doing more damage to the atmosphere than any single organism in history. Whoops. In war, you have Napoleon and then Hitler, making the exact same classic blunder, invading Russia and thinking the winter wouldn't be a problem. And in art, this one just hurts. A young darkroom intern accidentally melted the film from D-Day, destroying all but 11 photos from one of the most important events in modern history. Mistakes, it turns out, are everywhere.
So it's pretty easy to look back at these stories and be fascinated, right? They're kind of wild. But let's shift gears now. Let's bring it home. Because when it's us, when we're the one who messes up the presentation or sends that email to the entire company by accident, it doesn't feel fascinating. It feels absolutely awful.
And that's the real question, isn't it? We can laugh about a world war starting over a sandwich, but when we make a simple typo in a report, our stomach just drops. Why is our own personal experience with mistakes so incredibly painful?
Well, it turns out our brains are basically hardwired for social connection. A mistake, especially one that people see, feels like a threat to our place in the tribe. It triggers this primal fear of being cast out, and that shows up as shame, embarrassment, and that nagging inner critic that just won't shut up. And that's a trap, because that feeling makes us want to hide, to stop taking risks, and to play it safe. But you can't grow if you're playing it safe. It's the surest way to get stuck.
So, how do we get out of that shame spiral?
Well, one of the best tools out there is mindfulness. And look, before you tune out, this is not about emptying your mind or chanting. It's actually a super practical skill. It's about being able to notice your own reaction to a mistake without getting totally swept away by it. Think of it like hitting the pause button between the mistake and your freakout.
Here's a simple 3-step way to do it. First, just notice. Before you beat yourself up, just observe what's happening in your body. Okay, my chest is tight, my face is hot. This pulls you out of your head. Second, connect to the value. Ask yourself, why am I so upset about this? And the answer is always, because I care. The pain you feel is actually a sign that this thing matters to you. And third, offer yourself some compassion. This isn't about letting yourself off the hook, it's just about treating yourself like you treat a friend. Just thinking, it's okay, people make mistakes when they're trying hard, can break that cycle of negativity and actually let you start learning. Okay, so you've used mindfulness to handle that initial emotional gut punch. You're not spiraling anymore. Now what? Well, now we shift gears. We stop being the person on trial and we become the lead investigator. It's time to put on our detective hat and figure out what really went down.
To do this like a pro, we need a system. One of the best ones out there is called root cause analysis, or RCA for short. This is a method that gets used in super high-stakes industries like aviation and engineering, where they have to understand why things go wrong. The whole point is to dig past the obvious problem, the symptom, to find the real, deep-down reason the mistake happened in the first place.
Here's the easiest way to think about it. Seeing a puddle on the floor and wiping it up, that's just dealing with a symptom. The puddle's going to be back. But asking, hey, why is this pipe leaking, and fixing the pipe, that's finding the root cause. It's the same at work. Correcting a typo is just wiping up the spill. Asking, why does our team's proofreading process keep missing these things, that is looking for the leaky pipe. It's about fixing the system, not just putting a Band-Aid on the latest problem.
And the process is actually pretty straightforward. Let's say a marketing email went out with the wrong discount code. Step 1, define the problem. Be specific. The spring sale email had a 50% off code, not 15%. Step 2, gather the data. Get the email drafts, talk to the team without blaming anyone. Step 3, brainstorm all the possible causes. Was it a simple copy-paste error? Was an old template used? Was the team just too rushed? Step 4, analyze. You look at the data and realize, hey, this has happened 3 times before, always at the end of the quarter. And step 5, identify the root cause. It's not just someone messed up. The root cause is that there's no final checklist before an email goes out. You fix that, and you prevent a whole category of future mistakes.
Okay, so having a great detective process like root cause analysis is amazing, but it is 100% useless if everyone is too scared to even admit a mistake happened. And that brings us to the final, and you could argue the most important piece of this whole puzzle, creating the right environment for all this to happen.
And this crucial ingredient is called psychological safety. It's a term from a researcher named Amy Edmondson, and all it really means is a shared feeling on a team that it's okay to take risks. It means you can ask a dumb question, you can challenge an idea, and most importantly, you can raise your hand and say, hey, I think I messed up, without being afraid you're going to get blamed or shamed for it.
And when you have that safety, everything we've been talking about suddenly clicks into place. It creates this amazing positive feedback loop. People feel safe, so they report small errors. Reporting errors gives you the data you need to do a real root cause analysis. Learning from that analysis makes your processes better, and the team starts to win more. That success builds even more trust and safety. It's basically the foundational operating system for any team that actually wants to improve. Now we have to bust a huge myth right here. Psychological safety is not about being nice all the time. It is not about getting rid of accountability or lowering your standards. In fact, it's the exact opposite. It's the thing that makes real accountability possible. Think about it. You can't hold people to high standards if they're too afraid to tell you the truth. The highest performing teams in the world are the ones that have both high psychological safety and high standards for accountability. The two go hand in hand.
So, from a 20-year math error to the sandwich that sparked a world war, from managing the shame in our own heads to building safety in our teams, what have we learned? We've seen that mistakes are so much more than things to be avoided. They're data, they're teachers. They are the messy, uncomfortable, but absolutely necessary road to getting better. So I'm going to leave you with this question. What's the one thing you're avoiding right now just because you're afraid of messing it up? Because that very mistake you're so scared of, it might just be the hidden door to your next great breakthrough.